Irfaan Gaffar, co-host Rink Wide Vancouver, alongside Jeff Patterson. And you ready to do this playoffs thing, bro?
Oh, I'm pumped. Look, I think the first home playoff game since 2015. I think we can cross out the bubble and let's get going. I know you guys are going to be doing some stuff as well. Pumped to have you guys on, but yeah, let's do it. I'm excited.
I had to give my 13 or 14 now year old daughter and my nephew a lesson in playoffs because they really, as conscious human beings, haven't experienced the playoffs. They were 4 for the last.
Didn't resonate with them at 5.
No. So I was like, you don't understand. Like, if they can just make it into the second round, even like games 5, 6, and 7 are like mid-May. The sun is out. There's parties, barbecue. Like, it's a lot of fun. And they were like, wow, like they couldn't believe what that sounded like. So let's hope it goes kind of deep and we get that springtime vibe,
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've always said the playoffs in any city are the best, but playoffs here in that mid-May you mentioned, and bars, restaurants, talk podcasts, everything that we do for a living, it just makes everything better. So yeah, it should be a really exciting time here.
Makes everything better except for your liver.
It's true.
That's a rest up. You're gonna rest up, save up.
Morning tea times will be available because everybody needs to sleep in.
Exactly. Are you feeling the buzz yet?
Yeah, I think so. I think people are just excited. Obviously, you see with people going out and putting out ticket prices and all of that, and now the Canucks are starting to ramp up their social media presence and kind of being felt. And the car flags are on the cars, and different people in different communities are going to be doing all types of things. But it's an exciting time. I think that this week helps a little bit. I think if the Canucks can manage to get some momentum here and win these final 2 games as you head into the weekend and into the playoffs, I think that's when we'll really start to see things kind of ramp up.
Canuck fans used to travel when there was the expectation of the Cup in the Sedin era. And, even in 14-15, it was Calgary, so that was available to people. If it's the Predators, how many Canuck fans are going to make that trip? I think in LA, people probably would have tried to make the trip too. But do you think people will travel this year?
I think LA, Vegas, you can get. Nashville's tough, right? There's what is it? 1 direct flight, 1 day a week or something like that. So that one's tough to get to. I mean, the diehards, probably someone might go for a game or 2. Depending on if you do the math, what it costs to get there and hotel and tickets versus ticket and a night out here or whatever it is. But I expect some people to travel.
Hey, we saw a good number of Canucks fans in Nashville in 2011.
Yeah, but there was expectation.
Fair enough.
Like
a lot of Canucks fans in Edmonton on Saturday as well, although I imagine many of them have relocated to Alberta. All right, our poll question. Do you want to see towel power, Irf?
Yeah, I do. I think it's when you think of Canuck playoffs, going back to all the way. I mean, for me, 94 is probably my earliest memory of things like that, just going to the rink and seeing it and having lived it. It's cool. It's great. Why not? Towels on seats. Plus, it's a souvenir for fans. I don't know if it's going to get to the whiteout experience that is the Winnipeg Jets, nor should it. But yeah, definitely towel power it up.
Do you have a playoff preferred opponent? Have we talked to you about that yet? It's 80% Preds according to Blake's model. What do you think?
So look, I think it's interesting if you look at it because the Preds is the sexy pick just because of the Vegas are the defending Stanley Cup champions and the way that the LA Kings play, and you've seen the way that the Canucks match up against those 2 teams. I don't know. Like the Preds they play hard. They play a big game. They play hard, and their goalie can get hot, right? Whereas Vegas, we haven't really seen much from Adin Hill, and I don't know if I trust Cam Talbot. I trust the game they play in front of him. I'm not entirely sure I trust him as a goaltender. So Saros, yeah, I definitely trust him. But if you're the Vancouver Canucks, obviously they'll never admit it on who they want to play. I think if you're a fan, Nashville's probably the matchup, but the way kind of Adin Hill's looking a little shaky, I don't mind Vegas. Like if you want to be the best and you think you're that good, go and beat the best. And Vegas is a good matchup for them.
And they're just not playing well. Like, I know that it makes a lot of sense. Why would we want to face the defending Stanley Cup champions in the first round? That doesn't make any sense. I don't think normally anybody would volunteer that, but they're still super injured. They're not playing well. I don't know. They may not be as big of a monster as people think they are.
No, I agree. And look, I understand they're getting Mark Stone back, but how healthy and how effective is he going to be? You're obviously going to get that boost. Their building is a difficult building to play in, but if you're up 2-0 going into that building, it's a whole different ballgame there. All the pressure's on the home team at that point. And then I know, Matt, that we've talked about it with you in the past year, this year, that maybe not a lot of locals are sold on this Vegas Golden Knights team this season.
You look at what tickets are going for on the secondary market in Vegas, and it is clear that the honeymoon is over a little bit, that locals don't necessarily anticipate another Stanley Cup run there, that they have had enormous fun. And I think Canuck Nation could absolutely take over that building if, in fact, it is the Vegas Golden Knights, particularly if it's 2-buzz heading to Sin City.
Well, 100%. I think if it's 2-0 heading in, right? You can go book that flight halfway through the second period. The next one's probably going to leave that morning. When the games are going to be. So, you can probably find a pretty cheap deal on a hotel and you're just paying for the ticket prices of the game. But yeah, I mean, LA's a little bit more different. And then maybe the stylistic approach to the hockey game, if you want to watch an exciting brand of hockey, traveling to watch the LA Kings and Canucks might not be in your best interest. But yeah, I mean, I'm in for the Vegas-Vancouver matchup. I think that Nashville could be an interesting one. That one might be a little bit more on who's going to make the first mistake, whereas Vegas, both teams will go at each other. And in LA, we obviously know that the way that they play.
How do you feel? They've got a couple of wins here against playoff teams in the last week in Edmonton and Vegas. How do you feel about their form heading in, Irf?
Well, I think it can only go up from here, especially with your goaltender making the start here today against the Calgary Flames, right? You get your best player, basically one of your best players back, and, he's going to play the next 2 games. The interesting one is if they win today, what's the lineup going to look like on Wednesday, right? Or sorry, on Thursday against the Winnipeg Jets. Thatcher Demko is going to go. Got to get him into both games, but there can conceivably be a scenario where a lot of their big dogs get some rest. So I like the way they're playing. I like the way that Elias Lindholm has come back into the lineup and kind of inserted himself right away in being that guy depended on in their two-way game. He's taking the big faceoffs. He's killing penalties. That line hasn't looked bad. Still want to see a little bit more from Elias Pettersson, but, you hope he can, kick it into that extra gear and get that boost of momentum as we head into the playoffs. But the way that Quinn Hughes has played, the way that JT Miller's played all season long, things are kind of trending in the right direction now.
Quinn Hughes, I know you talked to a lot of people around the league, a lot of voters on the Norris Trophy. How do you feel about his Norris Trophy candidacy here going into the final 2?
I've said this all year long. There are going to be voters in the National Hockey League that don't have Quinn Hughes as their top 3. That's just the reality we're going to live in. ESPN did something last year in the middle of the season, and it was a poll with executives, players, and someone else, and Quinn Hughes wasn't even in the top 10. So there are people that, whether it's obviously living in the East and not watching many of these games, and you see the stats and you say, okay, yeah, Quinn Hughes is doing things, but Cale Makar this, Cale Makar that, Adam Fox this, Adam Fox that, and there are other very good defensemen. I think that Quinn Hughes should be the Norris Trophy winner. I think there's a lot of people that agree. I think you would both agree as well, but I can see the case being made for Cale Makar. The problem is, if you look at it, the Canucks without Quinn Hughes are a significantly worse team than Colorado without Cale Makar. And I think that that's one of the things you have to go and look at. Like, Nathan McKinnon can carry that team. Quinn Hughes is this Vancouver Canucks team for the most part.
Don't underestimate Kevin BX's comments on Hockey in Canada, saying that Hughes should be the Hart Trophy winner too, or get consideration at least for the Hart. Like, he's not going to, but that sort of publicity, that sort of stage, that helps.
Yeah, I think, gosh, leave them off the top 3 in the ballot. Like,
I think there will. I think you'll see people. I think you will. I think you'll see ballots that will have them off the top 3.
Blake's been musing about this week, but if they get everything wrapped up tonight, or even if they just get the Pacific wrapped up, would you sit him? Would you not take him to Winnipeg and just give him the extra rest?
Yeah, I mean, I think you would. I think you're going to have to talk to him as well. But if it's a close game and they end up kind of pulling it off and they don't play a good hockey game, it's one of those ugly ones, I think he'll want to go. I think that they want to end on a good note. And it's going to be one of those things where if you beat the Calgary Flames in convincing fashion and you lock up the division tonight and things are good, then it's okay. But if you kind of maybe manage your way through it and it's an okay game, you might want to go and play. Like if he doesn't play today, if he doesn't play after today and some of these guys get rest, your next actual game action isn't until Tuesday, game 1, right? Potentially. So that's a lot of rest for some of these guys, which is rest is good, but you might want to just feel that a little bit before.
The other problem here, guys, is that that letter on his chest. Mm-hmm. I think he
82. There's a lot of sort of symbols.
Yeah,
him.
But
I think he just feels like as the captain, he's got to be there every
right.
night,
I think you do feel that as well, but also as the captain of this team, and you're going to want to be healthy for game 1 of the playoffs. I think that is more important. If you've locked up the division, you're having a hell of a season. You've done everything you possibly can except play 82 games to, put yourself in for the Norris Trophy consideration. Like, get that rest, load management.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think everybody's going to be well rested. I mean, there seems to be this murmuring that it's a Monday or a Tuesday start for the Canucks, which, providing they can get through this week, guys, they get the best of all the worlds. There's no talk of rust for them because they will have played right up until the last second. I mean, they're the second last game on the calendar of the National Hockey League. And yet they've had the requisite amount of rest before their game 1. I think, the schedule in that regard is shaping up perfectly for them.
Yeah, I remember talking about how game 1 of the playoffs was being moved to Saturday the 20th. And Matt, and I think it was you and I being like, there's no chance the Canucks are going to play on that Saturday after playing Thursday in Winnipeg. So they're going to get the rest. They're going to play on Tuesday. I believe it is Tuesday, Thursday, and then we'll see kind of what happens there in Vancouver. But yeah, I mean, rest is going to be good, I think. But if you are players on that team, maybe getting into that last game is good, but the rest is needed. Like what if, something bad, like you block a shot by accident, right? You just don't want to put yourself into those situations.
A lot of flamingos that night.
If in fact it does begin Tuesday, do you think that's an advantage for the Nashville Predators, who are already done and could feasibly on a plane being here, getting time adjusted by Wednesday or Thursday?
That's a long time to not be playing and sitting around and waiting. I mean, they're scoreboard watching just like we are over the next little week here to figure out where they're going. Like I said, rest is good. And like I've also said, rest sometimes is not a good thing. So would you have wanted to have played at least 2-3 days before? Probably, if you're the Nashville Predators. But yeah, I mean, having your goaltender not being on the ice for a while, having, guys who have been ailing with injuries be able to get back and get healthy. But again, like getting into that game action, there's nothing like playing a game, and especially in the playoffs.
Next trophy question. Demko, you think he's still going to be a finalist for the Vezina?
I think he'll be a finalist. It's got to be Hellebucks, right? I mean, just the season that he's had, and obviously the longevity of what he's been able to go through this season with that team. I think he'll be a finalist, but I'm not entirely sure that he gets that many votes. To be completely honest, I just think missing a month is way too much. But again, like the Norris, like this team was able to kind of figure it out with Demko a little bit because they were so good in front, which goes back to my argument about Quinn Hughes. Without Quinn Hughes, this team is literally nowhere, right? Without Thatcher Demko, they were able to manage and put together some pretty good wins. But yeah, I think he'll be a finalist. I just don't think he's going to win it.
After all he's done, let him wear the tux and arrive at the ceremony. My goodness, that's a hell of
Vegas, baby.
But for first of all, do they have an award show this year?
Is that I
believe they talked about. I'm not sure there's details of an award show finalized. I thought I saw that headline earlier this season.
It's getting a little late in the day.
Yeah, well, I think they realized, March 15th, plans have not yet been formalized for the NHL's awards show. And look, for a lot of people, a lot of people say, good riddance.
Yeah.
It was not a particularly good show. Very stiff.
Yeah.
And some guys don't even, some guys would just rather not have to get on a plane and go and sit there and pose to be a runner-up.
Fake laugh.
Yeah, exactly. Fake clap.
Yeah.
You saw Gosling with Oppenheimer. He wasn't happy for him.
If I'm the league, here's what I do. This is your last quote unquote in-person draft in Vegas. You're doing it big. You're doing the Sphere. So you got to figure out a way to figure out the award show in that. Plus, guys are going to want a free trip to Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas is the one place that they would be okay with going.
Yeah.
Does Tocchet have the Jack Adams wrapped up?
I think it's his to lose. I don't even think anyone comes close, right? If you look at the season, we've debated this. There are some candidates that are out there, but I think the turnaround and the way that this team had it start, and then everyone looked at this team and said, okay, they're going to fall off at some point. And then they alternated wins and losses for 10 games. And then we questioned it, said, who are the Vancouver Canucks? And Rick Tocchet has been consistent in his messaging with his team. He's called out players when he needed to. He's been vocal in the dressing room when he needed to be. And with the media, I think he's been great, right? So the job that he's done, and obviously credit goes to him and his coaching staff, but I definitely do think it's his to lose.
The final home game of the season used to be a sort of a, I don't know, therapeutic sort of moment for Canucks fans. It was sort of like we endured it. We endured it. Yeah. It's over. We're going to kind of miss you because we do like knowing you're around, but this has been really tough. It's a little different, right? It's nice to this is going to be a different vibe. I think it'll be a raucous night at Rogers Arena because they know it's the sending off party really to the playoffs.
Well, that, and you can win the division, right? I think that you go with that and you say, look, I've come on shows and said, if the Canucks blow the division, that's a huge, miss on their part for the season that they've had. I really do believe that. So you got to think that these guys are getting up for tonight. They want to take it into another gear. They know they haven't been playing that well lately, and the playoffs are right around the corner. So it should be a great game from your Vancouver standpoint. You should see a team that's motivated. They want to get this done. They want to lock it up, and they want to do it in front of their home fans.
Do they want to win the conference? Do they care? That's still alive theoretically. Do you think anybody's thinking that in the dressing room?
I think it's alive, but with a little bit of help, maybe. I think, you take care of your next two games and you got a scoreboard watch a little bit. I think if you win the division right now, that's an important goal. That's one they probably did have heading into this season. I think the conference would be great. And obviously they're not going to win the President's Trophy, the Rangers winning it. But I think, the aspirations for that when they were in the mix were there. But I think the division was one of the more important ones.
Okay, rapid fire. Team MVP.
Quinn Hughes.
Best defenseman, Hughes, then, I guess.
Yes, sir.
Most exciting player.
Look, Quinn Hughes.
Here's the tough one.
Yeah.
Unsung hero.
Okay, so this one you kind of struggle with this one a little bit. Like, is it JT, but he's so consistent all the time? There could be some votes for Connor Garland with the way he's played late in this season. Dakota Joshua probably gets a little bit of love. I know Jeff Patterson tweeted out a while ago, like it was Quinn Hughes all across the board, especially for what Quinn's getting paid, that he should be the unsung hero because it's so low. But you know what? I'll go and I will say, I'll say Dakota Joshua.
See, that's a protest vote from Patterson. He hates the terminology unsung. So you can interpret unsung as, he's too good. You think Miller may get some unsung just because Hughes gets the team MVP?
Not a chance.
I think a lot of fans may vote that way. They're like, we got to give JT something.
You got to give JT something, right? He's not going to win the MVP because it's going to be Quinn. He's not going to win the most exciting because it should be Quinn. He's not going to win best defenseman because he can't. So it's probably should be unsung. You know what's going to be weird? You know what will interest me is if Quinn Hughes ends up being the player across the board from the fan voting, what do the Canucks do as an organization?
Fair enough.
Right?
Well, I do wonder if there's someone in there who goes, guys, we have to change the name of unsung hero, or we have to change that award, period, simply because when that award was conceived, you weren't in a 24/7 media cycle where, you've got so much chatter about the club on so many platforms. We talk about it every year. Everybody is sung on this team who does well. Connor Garland was literally sung at Rogers Arena when they were chanting his name. So there needs to be, and the criteria doesn't exactly spell it out. They leave it open for you to determine, which fair enough. We ask poll questions all the time with, define it as you see fit. But I think now the club does have to point people in a more specific direction, perhaps with a different name.
JT Miller does get a trophy, the Cyrus McLean trophy for leading scorer. So he does get hardware tonight.
Yeah, but that's the one. Yeah, but that's the one that he went and earned. This isn't the one the fans voted for.
Yeah, his third edition.
And Irf makes a good point. Like I do think there will be some fans who say, "Look, we've got to give JT. I've got to vote for JT Miller somewhere on my ballot." Buddy, you're in with Jeff Thursday
tonight.
Yes,
sir.
Marvelous. And throughout the playoffs, rink-wide Vancouver, they go live. They're on video, YouTube, right after, a few minutes after the final horn goes. Irf, thanks for this, buddy. Look forward to catching up next week when we got playoffs.
All right, gentlemen. Be well.
Hey, everybody. If you're enjoying what you're seeing here, then follow along with Sekeres and Price on YouTube. I promise more content coming.
The kids call it subscribe on YouTube.
Well, how about liking it?
Do that as well. Smash it right now.